First of all, I guess congratulations are in order, given, of course, all of these investments and commitments coming from investors. How much new capital will actually go to Mint, the global fintech innovations, or the firm that manages GCash from the latest investments?
Well, thank you for inviting me here, Heidi and Sherry. Well, first of all, last week we just announced our latest strategic investment from MUFG, and that's worth around 800 million combined investment from both MUFG and Ayala Corporation, one of the largest and most enduring conglomerates in the Philippines. That's a mixture of secondary and primary, although largely it's secondary actually. And the deal is the largest fintech transaction in Southeast Asia in the last 3 years, and the largest fintech transaction in the Philippines ever.
So can we have sort of a breakdown of how much the new capital will go to Mint and how Mint is really thinking of deploying the fresh cash?
Well, as to the amount, we cannot divulge the exact amount. That would be the primary part. But in terms of the use of those funds, it would be largely for lending as we scale up our lending business. We will also be investing very much in our payments business, which has been our core and has been continued to grow in the past couple of years. So we will be going deep into lending as well, and our expansion to the international business. So far, right now, we've already opened in 17 countries globally. So we continue to expand our presence internationally to serve Filipinos abroad.
Will you be seeking a digital banking license given the moratorium has just been lifted on new digital banks?
Well, that's being discussed, although nothing is definite as of the moment.
What else when it comes to fundraising then? Can I ask you about whether an IPO is being considered, and if so, what's the sort of framework for timing?
Well, for the IPO, of course, that's always on the table. But our priority right now is really to grow the business and sustainably grow the business, which has been working for us as we focus on the growth. And also monitoring the market. Well, we've seen how the market has been the past week. So we will continue to monitor the market. And when the conditions are right, maybe we can consider IPO.
How enthusiastic are you about accepting new investors with the IPO sort of discussions aside, and what would you hope that they can add to the business?
Well, we just got our strategic investor right now. As we said, we're not really in need of funds right now because since 2021 we've been positive in terms of bottom line. But we got in MUFG and Ayala because they're strategic investors, and we know that they would contribute a lot in our growth agenda, particularly in lending business. In the case of MUFG, they'll be able to help us in terms of a cheap cost of funds when it comes to lending, right? So in terms of new investors, we're not actively considering that right now, as we're just in the process of closing this big deal.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned really growing your lending business. Can you give us a bit more details when it comes to the structure of your business? Say how much is really that sector, how much is actually mobile payments?
Oh, well, our lending business, we've disbursed so far 155 billion pesos life to date, and it's been growing 73% year on year. Our unique borrowers is at 5.4 million, and it's growing more than 70% again year on year. As to the type of lending that we give out, it's largely the G loan or the loan cash loan business. And we're more focused on everyday loans, small loans, rather than what the banks do. So we don't actually compete with the banks. Rather, what we compete in would be, who we compete with would be the loan sharks. In the Philippines, which is largely unbanked, and almost 50% are undocumented. Those who are in need are actually exposed to the loan sharks and usurious interest rates. So that's what we're trying to address with our lending business. So from AVPU to the frequency of the loans it's really more everyday rather than the big ticket items.
We're seeing growing unease when it comes to the trajectory of the global economy, especially depending on where the Fed goes and where central banks around the world go. What's the outlook for your business considering the macroeconomic considerations in the Philippines?
Well, our business continue to thrive because we serve the underserved, and we continue to focus on our customers, and we see that there's a lot of opportunity for growth as we focus on financial inclusion. In the Philippines, even though we've managed to help the central bank to include as many Filipinos financially, like up more than 50% now, there's still a large part who don't have access to formal financial institutions, whether that's from savings to investment to other wealth management products, insurance, and most especially lending. So that in itself provides us with huge opportunity for growth.
What about just the
Martha,
interest
really
rate
great.
outlook right now when it comes to lending?
Come again, sorry. Can
What
you
about
repeat
the interest
question?
rate outlook, for example?
Yes, so on the interest rate, we're very conscious about managing the interest rates, whether the volatility of the interest rate, especially we're dealing with the lower eco class segment. So slight movements in the interest rates by the BSP or by the central bank, we don't necessarily reflect them to our offers to our customers.